it's also coffee time. It's gingerbread latte coffee time, which is the best coffee time that you can have, with chocolate sprinkles. No cinnamon today. Lovely. Now, where are we up to in this book? This little ribbon down here is very useful because I was able to keep my place. Now, in the last video, we did the north of the country, and in this section we have Wales and the Midlands. I'm just going to move that ribbon out of the way. A lighthouse, yay! Love lighthouses. So let's begin and take a look. There we go. So the first bakery is called Becks Bakery, Isle of Anglesey. Now Anglesey, for those of you who are unaware, is a little tiny island off the northwest coast, of Wales. I always get my north, east, south and west mixed up, as well as left and right. It's not a good thing, really. So here we have this bakery, and this is the lighthouse just off Anglesey, I think, because I seem to remember it. I've been here before. And this is the shop. So let's have a look and see what recipe. Parabrith. Doesn't that look gorgeous with butter all over it? Yummy. Parabrith is a traditional Welsh loaf cake. So let's read this one. It makes 3. Stage 1. 225 grams or 8 ounces of butter plus extra for greasing. 750 grams or 1 pound 11 ounces of soft brown sugar. 225 grams or 8 ounces of sultanas. 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, which is baking soda. 150 ml or quarter of a pint of water. And then stage 2, 340 grams or 11 3/4 ounces of plain all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of mixed apple pie spice and 2 eggs. Stage 1. Place all the stage 1 ingredients into a heavy pan and set over a medium heat. Stir regularly and bring to the boil. Once boiling, remove from the heat and allow to go completely cold. Allow several hours. Preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Gas mark 4. Grease and line 3 small loaf tins or pans. Stage 2. Pour the cold cake batter into an electric mixer and add the stage 2 ingredients. Here. Beat on low speed for 1 minute, then medium speed for 2 to 3 minutes until glossy and smooth. Divide the batter between the prepared tins and bake for 60 minutes. Leave to set in the tins for a few minutes before turning out onto a wire rack to go cold. And then spread with butter and eat. Delicious. Now the next bakery is called St Mary's Bakery in Brecon. And here are the bakery owners. They have 2 shops and 24 staff. Gosh, I so miss going to Wales at the moment. Such a beautiful place. Look at that countryside. makes 8 to 10 pies. Let's have a bit more coffee. And then we have the baker's table in Talgarth, Powys. Here is the owner, and here are some of her cakes. And I do apologise for my slight tummy rumbles, but your tummy is probably rumbling too at the moment. And this bakery has provided this recipe, which is mill wheel fricasse with garlic pesto and Black Mountain smoked cheese. Wow, they look fabulous. Let's see. So the recipe makes 6 wheels. You make the dough and the pesto. Lovely. I could eat that right now. And then this one, bakery is called Maison Macy. And here are the owners. It says, David uses old traditional classic French recipes, and some of them are family recipes. Presentation is the most important element to us. And their recipe is called Episcopale. I think that's how you say that. Seem to be macarons, sponge, pastry cream, chartreuse cream, chocolate truffle ganache. And then it looks as though we leave Wales and we head for Birmingham. Here, this is the city of Birmingham, and this is another bakery in Birmingham. Looks like it is made specially. Looks like it's a charity. Creates opportunities for previously homeless people to work in the bakery. It's called Frost and Snow, Snow Hill, Birmingham. And their recipe is red velvet cupcakes. They look delicious. Let's read these. Makes 20. So you need 115 grams or 4 ounces of butter, 280 grams or 10 ounces of castor superfine sugar, 2 the surface of each. Then use a palette knife to quiff the frosting. Break up one of the cakes and sprinkle the crumbs on top of each cupcake. Gorgeous. And this bakery is called Baked in Tettenhall, Wolverhampton. makes 6, and you need 1.35 kilograms or 3 pounds of strong white bread flour plus extra for dusting, 30 grams or 1 ounce of salt, 30 grams or 1 ounce of bread improver, 60 grams or 2 ounces of fresh yeast, 1 times 400 ml or 14 ounces can of coconut milk, 450 ml or 3/4 of a pint of water, 120 grams or 4 ounces of a large mixed chilies medium heat finely chopped, 60 grams or 2 ounces of fresh coriander, cilantro chopped, 190 grams or 6 3/4 ounces of chili paste. We use English Provender, very lazy red chilies, 1 egg beaten for the egg wash and olive oil for brushing. And I'm just going to have a sip of coffee and then we'll find out how they did it. Add the flour, salt, bread improver. Now, I've never used a bread improver. That's interesting. And yeast to the bowl of an electric mixer. Slowly pour in the coconut milk and water while the mixer is set to the lowest speed. When the dough forms, increase the speed and beat for 5 minutes until a firm dough is formed. Switch off the mixer. Add the chilies, coriander and chili paste and mix through the dough. Add more flour if needed to keep a firm consistency. When the chilies are evenly spread through the dough and the dough feels smooth, tip it out onto a lightly floured tray. Cover and leave to rest for 1.5 hours. Cut the dough into 12 ounces, 340 gram pieces and shape into round loaves. Return the loaves to the tray, cover and leave to rise for another 20 to 30 minutes. Preheat the oven to 230 degrees Celsius, gas mark 8. On a lightly floured surface, shape into loaves. Place each on a baking tray. Brush with egg wash. Bake for 20 to 25 minutes. While still hot, brush lightly with olive oil. Might try those. I think I said in the last video that I made with this book that I had tried quite a few of these things, but up to now I haven't actually tried the ones that I've read to you. I don't know why, I seem to have missed out a whole chapter. So this bakery is called Absolute Treats, Carmarthen. So we're still back in Wales. This is a vegetarian bakery. And this is their recipe. Oh, look at this. Vegan chocolate, almond and raspberry brownie with summer fruit coulis. Looks really nice. Now, I'm not vegan myself, but one of my favourite places to go to is a vegan restaurant in my locality. whisk the sugar